Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live speaking TOEFL class with me. I'm Bailey. I'm one of the expert tutors here at E2 Language and over at E2 School as well. Looks like we have, oh no. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Sorry. Wait, I want to play. Sorry about that. I was just going to say, it looks like we have several people on Zoom and on YouTube as well. And YouTube is where that sound just came from. Sorry about that. All right, well, please feel free to use the chat feature, whether you're on Zoom or YouTube. If you have it on all panelists and attendees, that means that everyone in class will be able to see what you write. So it's a little bit more like a regular class, which is great, but up to you. If you're on YouTube, everyone can already see everything that you write. You don't have an option. All right, so use the chat to answer any questions that I have and to ask any questions of your own as well. All right, so for an overview of the TOEFL speaking, there is one independent task and 3 integrated tasks. And today we're going to focus on task 4, which is to summarize a lecture. No worries, close on the spelling of my name, a little different. And from Denmark, how beautiful. Hi, Wide. Hi, Shweta. Denmark is my mother-in-law's favorite country. Hi, Sanjana. Is that right, Sanjana? That's a good question. So if you're asking where I live versus where my accent is from, so I grew up in the States. I lived in Canada for about 5 years, and now I've been living in Melbourne, Australia for about 1.5 years. So that's where I am now. Hi, Deep. Excellent. So today, focusing on summarizing a lecture, also known as task 4 or the integrated task 4. So an overview for task 4, again, we're summarizing a lecture. We're specifically asked to listen to a lecture on an academic topic, and that person will speak for 90 to 120 seconds. And then you need to summarize the information in the lecture, and you have 60 seconds in which to do that. So for today's class, you'll want to make notes and record your answers. This is just for you to listen back to self-assess. I use voice memos. It's a free app on my phone, but whatever you have is fine. Again, it's just for you to listen back to yourself, which is a really helpful and useful skill. But if you can't do it, it's okay. Sanjana, you're from India. Welcome. All right, so the outline for today, again, we're just focusing on that task 4. We'll start with a warm-up. We'll move on to the appearance, so what it will look like in the testing center. We'll go over the method, scoring. You'll have some time to practice, and then I'll share some additional resources with you. So let's get started. And let's start with the warm-up. So we're going to talk about time travel. So if you could time travel, would you go to the past or the future? Let me know in the chat, the past or the future, where would you go? Seeing quite a few people say to the future. Why? Why would you go to the future? If you would rather go, Johnny, you would rather go to the past. Why? Sorry, there are people walking by my front door. I don't know if you could hear them, but I can. Johnny would like to change some history. Good idea. But Waid would like to go to the future to know what will happen. Maha, you'd rather go to the future because the past has already happened. It's behind us. Bosco, very similar response. You'd like to see what happens in the future because the past has already happened. Past's already passed. If you go to the past or the future, who would you like to meet there? I live right by a train line, and I think there was just a child wanting to watch a train go past. I think that's what all the noise was. But if you go to the past or the future, who would you like to meet? Who would you like to see? That's a tricky one if we're talking about the future. Wyatt, your friend? See what their life is like in the future. Oh, you couldn't see her because of COVID, so you'd like to see her in the future. Yeah, that's a very good response. I understand. Depends who would remain in the future, how far into the future you're going. Yeah, that is a harder one to ask about the future. So if you were in the future or in the past, what would you do there? Johnny answered, would like to change some history. Maha, you'd like to meet a future celebrity. Why? Looks like YouTube might be being a little funny. Not sure if it's acting up. Sorry if it is. You'd like to travel in the future to Europe to see beautiful museums and historical places. That's very interesting. Dinesh, you'd like to go into the future to see when the pandemic will be over. Me too. I would love to know when this will all be over. Maha, you'd like to meet a celebrity in the future so they can show you the world from a different perspective. Very good answer. Is there anything that you would try to avoid in the past or the future? Oh, Bosco, that's beautiful. I know that there will be a paradise on earth very soon, so this future gives hope like an anchor for the boat. The future is very bright. You could be a writer. That's very nice. You wouldn't want to waste time, concentrate more on your goals. Definitely makes sense. Johnny would also like to avoid wasting time. Wasted a lot of time because of the pandemic. Yep, I think we all have when we're locked at home and just sit in front of the TV quite a bit. Yeah, make sure not to take anything for granted. Beautiful. These are very deep. When we ask kids these questions, they say they'd, want to avoid making any changes because it could change the whole future. They want to travel to space. Yours are much more realistic, but beautiful. Make sure to live life to the fullest. Excellent. This was a great discussion and good ideas. Good to get these ideas in our head. So, to get a little bit back on track, you'd like to travel to the future to see how much humankind has developed? Hopefully a lot. All right, so let's go on to appearance. So the appearance for the speaking typically always looks the same. You'll see an image related to the lecture or the conversation, but this one, lecture, and the audio player. After that, you'll see the question prompt. So an audio recording of the prompt is also played. So basically the question is read aloud and you see the time. So once the question has been read aloud, a timer will start counting down from 20 seconds. And that's the time that you have to prepare. Then once those 20 seconds are up, you'll have 60 seconds to record your answer. So let's also take a look at the method. This is how we recommend that you answer the task 4 question, and it is a 4-step method. Couldn't think of all the 4s. The first step is to listen to the lecture and take notes. Then read the question prompt. Third, prepare your response. And finally, present. So we'll break this down step by step. This is the note-taking template that we recommend for this section. So they can look a little bit different in the other sections, but for speaking, you'll want to put the topic at the very top and then some examples and details. It's possible there will be 3, but it's usually 2. Okay, so let's listen, take your notes now. Again, we want to break it into a T chart like this. Overall topic, examples, and corresponding details. Go ahead and take your notes now.
Since the time of the Renaissance, the identity of one of the greatest playwrights of all time, William Shakespeare, has been constantly questioned. There is still an ongoing controversy between Shakespeare's devoted admirers and anti-Stratfordians, who claim that this illustrious person is nothing more than just a fiction, due to a number of reasons, such as a lack of documentary evidence of Shakespeare being real, discrepancy of the author's education and writing manner, and numerous similarities found in works of Shakespeare and his contemporaries. One of the main reasons for planting the seed of doubt concerning Shakespeare's identity is the fact that very little is known of the playwright's personal life. There are no letters, diaries, or authenticated portraits, except ones painted after his death. The records of William Shakespeare from Stratford are rather rare and are attributed mostly to Shakespeare as a real estate owner or an actor. There can be found only 6 of William's signatures on literary works, but the name is spelled differently from the one that appears on most Shakespeare title pages. For a great number of scholars engaged in Shakespeare's mystery, these facts are the grounds for presupposing that the name was used as a pseudonym for some other author. Another reason to consider Shakespeare to be a myth is an odd inconsistency observed between his education and style of writing. Anti-Stratfordians tend to think that William's humble origins and obscure life cannot be compatible with his poetic eminence. The author creates an impression of a highly educated person with a great experience of traveling, knowledge of foreign languages and court life. But at the same time, there is not even an official document proving that William Shakespeare from Stratford attended school and was literate. For many anti-Stratfordians, the absence of evidence is taken to be evidence of absence.
Hey, pretty interesting topic there, I think. So I will show you my notes and you can compare them to your own. So the topic was Shakespeare's identity. The examples, there's a lack of documented evidence, some details. There aren't any letters, diary, or portraiture. They had his name as a real estate agent or an actor. And he had 6 signatures on literary works, but the name was different than how it's normally spelled. Maybe it was someone using a pseudonym. The second example was that his education level does not match his very sophisticated style of writing. He, the person who wrote seems to be very well educated. They knew foreign languages. Again, the writer seemed very intelligent, but the person named William Shakespeare, there was no documentation that they were even literate or that they attended school. Were my notes similar to yours? Did you take down some of those same examples and details? It's definitely okay if your notes aren't exactly the same as mine, but those were the 2 main examples. So that would be the main thing that I would say should be similar. Yes, and this is a very hard thing to do, to break down all those words, 2 minutes worth of words, into just a few brief, they're not even sentences, just brief notes. And that is something that's definitely taking notes. That is a strategy that we look at every time, and we give you little hints at how to take these notes because it's tough and you want to write as much as possible, but clearly and without missing out on hearing things. All right, so now we read the question prompt. Using points and examples from the lecture, describe the theories about Shakespeare's identity. So we want to ask ourselves these questions as we structure our response. So remember, we only have 20 seconds to prepare. So we're not going to write all of these things out. This is a template that we suggest that you memorize. And of course, it is a template. It's not going to be the exact same every time. You need to be flexible, but this is a really, really great guide. So you want to start with the main topic. What is the main topic? Can you explain it in simple words? They were discussing the true identity of William Shakespeare, something to that effect. Then the connection. What is the professor trying to do? Are they trying to give different perspectives, examples? Are they convincing somebody of something? What are they doing? And then we go into our examples. We want to discuss both examples and some of the corresponding details. So how does the example relate to the main topic? Some details. Then the second example. How does this example relate to the main topic? Some details. Yes, you can absolutely use notes during while you're presenting. So you have about 20 seconds to write your notes, and then you can refer to them the whole time during the 60 seconds to present. Right, so we want to use our notes to answer these questions. And again, it's a good guide. Be flexible. Occasionally there are 3 examples, or they might be points rather than examples. So let's listen to this sample answer.
The lecture is about the true identity of William Shakespeare. The professor illustrates his concept using 2 main points. Firstly, she talks about the fact that there is not much known Shakespeare's personal life. She says that any historical references to him are as a landowner or actor, not as a playwright. Only 6 of his works has his signature, and each one is spelled differently to the name of the title page. Some theorists believe that his name was a pseudonym for other another author due to some similarities found in his work and that of other authors of his time. Secondly, she speaks about inconsistencies between Shakespeare's education and his writing. She notes that his sophisticated writing is evidence of a high level of education. However, there is no evidence that Shakespeare was educated or even literate.
Hey, how do you feel about that response? Just be in general, good, bad, medium? Very good. Yeah, I agree. So now let's break down, why is this such a good response? Why do we want to model this? And we can look at why it's good. We can break it down through the scoring. So this is the official TOEFL scoring guide. You've probably seen it. If not, go over to the official TOEFL site and download it. It is good. It's a good guide, but I find it very lengthy. It uses lots of technical language, and sometimes it's just over my head. It's hard to understand. So we created a simplified guide. Feel free to take a screenshot of this. It just makes it a little easier for me anyway to really comprehend. So, what delivery score would you give our sample answer? So I'll give you a minute to read through each band, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and let me know in the chat what score you would give our response. Mostly seeing 4s and a 3. Some tough markers out there, tough graders. I don't know if I want to be in your class, Bosco. I would definitely go with a 4. Well-paced and fluid speech, accurate pronunciation and intonation. So if we look at this, there weren't a lot of awkward pauses, not too many ums and uhs where they're really searching for language. And accurate pronunciation and intonation, yeah, they were really easy to understand throughout. That gets a 4 from me. What about language use? Take a minute and let me know. Hi, Pachu. Looks like most of us are going with 4s this time. Yes, okay, I'll come to your class now. So yes, I would also say a 4 because he effectively used grammar. If we look at the transcript, there were some really minor grammatical errors, not much known Shakespeare's personal life, not much is known about Shakespeare's personal life. That's so small that you might not even hear it. Only 6 of his works has his signature. Only 6 of his works had his signature. But again, those are so small, you might not even pick them up, and they are not enough to drop you down to a 3 band because they don't they don't interfere with our understanding of what is being said. The meaning hasn't changed. It still means the same, even if it's not perfectly correct. And again, we are allowed some minor errors like that. Minor errors happen, they're okay. The different tenses are used mostly accurately, just one small mistake, but all the rest are accurate. The lecture is, illustrates, talks, says, are, has, should have been had, spelled, believe, was, found, speaks, notes, was. So most of them are accurate, just one small error. It could include some more complex sentences, but overall, we've done quite a bit of variety. So this one could be a 3.5, but I would say more on the 4 side. And he used lots of collocations, and some uncommon words are used accurately. So this is what bumps it back up to that 4. It might have gone closer to a 3, but it really is kind of on that line. But collocations, uncommon words, true identity illustrates this concept, main points, personal life, historical references, playwright, title page, theorists, pseudonym, similarities, inconsistencies, sophisticated writing, high level of education. So these are words, collocations, phrases that really amp it back up to that 4. So what about topic development? What do you think for this one? Seeing some more 4s for this one. Yes, I definitely agree. Topic development is a 4. Clear progression of ideas with relevant information. Absolutely. He used linking words logically, which helped us organize the ideas. And we've used them accurately, but not too frequently. You don't want to use them every other word. I see some that overuse them. These are done really well. The lecture is about using 2 main points. Firstly, and due to, and that of, sorry, that was hard to read, and that of. So firstly, secondly, however, we've talked about those main points. So these are really good things, phrases to use, those linking words. We also call them signposting language. You hear them referred to by a few different things. and includes appropriate details and connections between ideas. Absolutely. So this is that template that we recommended. So we've explained the main topic. The lecture is about the true identity of William Shakespeare. You don't have to get really complicated with this. What is the lecture about? The lecture is about the true identity of William Shakespeare. Now, a connecting sentence, the professor illustrates this concept using two main points. And these are the main points that I'm about to talk about. Now we introduce the first point using a great linking word. Firstly, she talks about the fact that there's not much known about Shakespeare's personal life. She says that any historical references to him are as a landowner or an actor, not as a playwright. Only 6 of his works had his signature, and each one is spelled differently to the name on the title page. Some theorists believe that his name was a pseudonym for another author due to some similarities found in his work and that of other authors at his time. And we've used another really good linking word to start point 2. Secondly, she speaks about inconsistencies between Shakespeare's education and his writing. She notes that his sophisticated writing is evidence of a high level of education. However, there's no evidence that Shakespeare was educated or even literate. So a really good answer, a 4 band will tick all of these boxes. It will have well-paced and fluid speech with accurate pronunciation and intonation. It will effectively use grammar and vocabulary with only minor errors. Remember, we saw a few errors here. That's okay. It'll still get you a 4 if they're minor, if they don't change the meaning. And you'll have a clear progression of ideas with relevant information, including appropriate details and connections between our ideas. A good answer will also avoid these errors. These are 1 bands, consistent pronunciation difficulties with fragmented speech and frequent pauses. And these are the pauses that aren't natural pauses. These are pauses where we're really thinking and looking for words, for language. The grammar and vocabulary would be severely limited and prevent a clear expression of ideas, and would fail to provide relevant content. The ideas are either completely inaccurate or it's just one idea repeated many times. Okay, so now it is time for you to have some practice. So remember, we want to start by making our notes. We need to know what the overall topic is, the examples, and some details. Okay, so remember that T-chart? Topic, main idea, details, or examples, details, points, details, all the same, doesn't matter what you label it as, but listen for a couple examples and details.
15 nations are involved in funding the International Space Station, known as the ISS, and in ongoing research. The ISS, which circles our planet every 90 minutes, usually has between 3 and 6 people on board at any time, and they remain there for an average of 6 months. The purpose of the research on the ISS is to see how humans could, in future, support communities on other planets. One prime area of research is on the human body itself. There are currently issues with how the human body reacts to space. Researchers have observed that periods in space cause changes to muscles, bones, the cardiovascular system, and also to the eyes. The eyes are one of the most problematic issues, as eye damage after a prolonged period in space is common. Surprisingly, another area of research is the testing of commercial products, such as 3D printers and coffee machines, to see how they perform in space. Products such as these will make life on other planets more familiar to ordinary people and perhaps more pleasant and practical for all.
So I'll read out the prompt, then I'll give you 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to respond. So after I read this out, begin your preparation time. Using points and examples from the lecture, explain the main areas of research being undertaken on the International Space Station. Begin your 30 seconds to prepare now. Begin your 60 seconds to respond now. Okay, that's it. So let's listen to a sample answer and compare it to your own.
The speaker was discussing the International Space Station and how 15 countries were involved in research on board. He talked about how the purpose of the research is to make it possible for humans to live on other planets. Two main areas of research were mentioned. The first was research on human organs and the changes they undergo in space. He mentioned the muscles and bones. However, he said that changes to the eyes were a particular problem. Then he described a second area of research which involves testing commercial products. The examples he gave were 3D printers and coffee machines. According to the lecture, products like these will make life on other planets more comfortable and more practical.
Okay, how did you feel about that response? How did it compare to your own? Thought she did really well overall, especially topic development. The speaker was discussing, introduced what it was about. He talked about two main reasons were mentioned. The first, and then he described a second area. Some similarities, great. All right, so now give yourself, let's say 2 minutes. So listen back to your recording and then give yourself a score. And remember that your delivery could be a 2, but your topic development could be a 4. Each of these bands can be different. So give yourself a score, be fair, but be nice, be kind to yourself. I see a lot of people being very hard on themselves, so don't be too tough. So give yourself a score in each of these sections. I'll give you 2 minutes now. Hey, what do you think? I'm seeing some 3s overall. That's great. So basically, look at the difference if you're wanting to achieve a 4. Just look at the difference, and that lets you know what you need to do to get to that higher band. So well-paced and fluid, as opposed to generally clear, minor lapses, and some difficulty as opposed to accurate. Fairly good use as opposed to effective use. Some inaccuracies, and these are just minor errors that don't change the meaning. And here, clear progression of ideas with relevant information. Some ideas might not be complete enough or could be wrong, and it doesn't quite have enough details or connections, whereas here it was very clear, those ideas and connections. All right, so, oh, that's not loading, but that's all right. It was just an in-between slide. Let me give you some additional resources. So make sure you're working on your speaking skills outside of class as well. Go into your TOEFL course and do the speaking exercises, specifically the integrated or task 2, 3, and 4 speaking exercises, but today was task 4. Go to TED Talks, listen to a TED Talk. There are tons of them, so find one that you find interesting and use them to practice listening. You can also use the transcripts to read along with the speakers. And if you're reading them out loud, that will practice your speaking skills. So you can practice the speakers, their speed, intonation, pauses, tone, and that will really help to develop you to be a more natural speaker. And you'll also be practicing 3 of the 4 areas at once: listening, reading, and speaking. So I think that's a really great thing to do. We do that quite a bit over at E2 School as well. And there are a lot of free activities at E2 School. So if you want to go over there, definitely do that. And of course, check out our YouTube channel, the E2 TOEFL channel, and the E2 School channel as well. Right, so that is the end of class today. Does anyone have any questions? If you don't have any questions and need to go, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We are changing our free class structure, but next week will be the same as far as I know. And I'm sure that we'll send you emails and alerts and things, but we are changing it. I asked some people last week and got feedback. And so we are hoping to change it so that we will do 1 free class a week, but it will be a different subject. So reading, writing, listening, and speaking. But next week will be the same. So it will be the week after that that will start. Yeah, so next week will be the same. Next week will still be, as far as I know, a free speaking class on the 10th. Or at least it's the 10th here. Yeah, so it should still be 4 classes a week, but the free class will change each week. Instead of the free has just been speaking for a while now, and now it will change. Of course, thank you for joining. No questions? All right, it doesn't look like any questions. So again, thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you in class next week. Thanks.